Widely travelled, she holds the distinction of being one of the country's foremost academics in the field of English literature. Having studied in Oxford and Leeds, she is now a dedicated mother, writer, lecturer, and sometimes actress and theatre producer. Her work has been nominated for the Gratian Award, and she continues to lecture, act, and write. ETV Power Women proudly presents Professor Neluka Silva. Hi and welcome to ETV Power Women. You're watching Season 2 and a brand new episode, and we have today with us a very charming guest. She's a well-known author and she's also a professor in English. Neluka Silva, welcome to ETV Power Women.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming on. Neluka, I have to say I find this fascinating actually. You started off wanting to do law in economics and you kind of ended up doing English literature. I mean, you know, completely sort of two sort of spectrums of the field. How did that happen?
Well, I grew up mostly abroad.
Yeah.
And from the time I was about 14 or 15, I was living in Dubai.
Yeah.
And I was kind of fascinated with the idea of being a lawyer.
Right.
And I also sort of at that time wanted to desperately go to the London School of Economics.
Yeah.
Because I'd heard so much about it. So I did my A-levels and I applied and got into LSE.
Yeah.
And I was already geared to go to England to do law. And in the meantime, my father, who was working as a banker in Dubai, got transferred back to work in Sri Lanka.
Right.
But in that sort of space of time, I was also very involved in my school drama productions in Dubai. And I'd also sort of started reading and been really interested in English. And I loved literature and drama. And somehow when I came back to live in Sri Lanka, I met Jerome de Silva and I started acting in plays. And in just those few months, a lot of people sort of kept commenting on how much I loved literature. And even I realized that. And then sort of everybody, like my parents also said, look, I mean, if you are really keen on doing English, you know, why don't you change your mind? And then I found out that I could actually apply as a foreign student because there was a 1% foreign intake to a local university. And I applied and I decided that I didn't want to do law anymore. And I'd do English. And that's how I ended up at the University of Colombo. And I loved my course. And ended up just doing that and teaching and, you know, being at never leaving the university from being a student, actually.
Which is wonderful, actually.
Yes,
you know, it's kind of like, you know, you got in and you found yourself there, really.
I mean, to be honest, it took a while. In the sense of even at the end of my third year, I really didn't know what I wanted to do. I mean, I did English, I loved it. And as I keep telling people now, I mean, you know, in the early 90s, there were very few options for English graduates. I mean, it was teaching or advertising or media. So actually it was the professor of my department and the head of department who just one day said to me, you know, have you thought about lecturing? And I'd never really thought about it seriously. I mean, I think the one thing that attracted me to it was, for one thing, it was a field where there are many women at very high level. So in that sense, I never felt that gender
this was
going to
be, exactly.
And the other thing is that I've always wanted, even from my sort of teenage years, I've always wanted to have kids. And I wanted to have a career where I could perhaps
be
have,
a mother as well as,
juggle both and be there for my kids as well as, you know, have a career. And I felt that it was a kind of a career that would help, you know, help me to fulfill that part of my life as well. And thankfully it has, you know. So I've been very lucky, very blessed actually.
Well, that's wonderful to hear. Neluka, I mean, how would you describe a typical day in your life?
Hectic in one word, but I'm a very early riser.
Okay.
So in a way, And I usually sort of start the day by praying.
Right.
And I find that, in a way that really helps me to get through what I have to do. And in a way that block of time, I sometimes get up as like even 4 or half 4.
Oh my goodness, wow.
Sometimes it might be a bit later.
Yeah.
But that kind of helps me to get through a lot of things in a way, get lectures prepared, get my stuff together, then sort of get the household awake.
Yeah.
And I usually drop the girls at school.
Okay.
And I get to work fairly early, and in that early morning time, a lot of the admin I can get through.
Right.
I teach as well, so I have lectures on not every day, but maybe 3, depending on the number of courses, maybe 2, maybe 3 or 4 times a week.
Yeah.
Then sort of in the afternoon, if I don't have meetings and stuff, I try to kind of get all my marking and various paperwork and everything out of the way. And kind of early evening, Simon and I both, say from about 4:30 to about 8 or so, we try to spend time with the family,
right?
Because often what happens is that we sort of have dinner together, we kind of chat, we get the girls into bed, bedtime stories, etc. And because Simon works internationally, often his time differences are such that sort of after 8 he's on the computer and emailing and stuff. And I tend to work sort of between 8 and 9:30 as well.
Okay.
Sort of it's kind of a quiet time. So that's my day, but there is no typical day. I suppose that's what makes life interesting because there is no typical day.
Yeah, there's no sort of set routine. Which would
having said that, I do work very, very strictly to time.
Yeah.
And time is very important.
Yes,
so I'm almost like a kind of a military commander. Everything has to be
done,
boom, boom,
precise. Yeah.
And if one goes
astray,
out of key, the whole sort of schedule
is thrown off.
Kind of breaks down, and there's sort of chaos after that. But
on that note of timing, we've actually got to take a break.
Okay.
But for everyone at home, we'll be back with more from the lovely Professor Neluka Silva. So don't go anywhere. We're going to see you after this short break. Hi, and welcome back to Power Women on ETV, your lifestyle channel. Neluka, tell me a little bit about Kids at Play and how that whole thing came together.
Well, I'd been involved in the theatre acting mainly since I was 18.
Yeah.
And I'd sort of participated in a lot of drama workshops, especially those at the British Council.
Yeah.
And when I had kids, my older daughter, Nimaya, who's now 12.
It's a beautiful name.
6 years ago, when she was 6, or even before, she kept telling me, she would come to the theatre and watch me act.
Yeah.
And then she would say, teach me to act, teach me to act. And of course, it was impossible to teach that. But, and then, several friends were saying, why don't you do something for kids and do a kids drama workshop? So I started in 2004 just as a kind of an experiment.
Right.
For a few weeks, really. I didn't really expect anyone to enroll or anything. And I just went for the first day, and there were like 28 kids, and I didn't know what on earth to do. And for 6 weeks, I sort of did acting exercises and mime and stuff.
Yeah.
And we did a little production at the end of it.
Okay.
And just after that, I went to the University of Oxford. I was doing a master's degree.
That's right.
And while I was there, Oxford has a fantastic theatre, a youth theatre called Pegasus.
Right.
So I sort of started making inquiries, and I found out, I sent them my CV and stuff, and they offered me a voluntary sort of non-paid kind of apprenticeship with a director who was working with kids at the time. So I sort of went and kind of learned, sort of devised theatre, and I worked with her and kind of got training. and came back in 2005 and sort of carried on from there. And every year since 2005, except for this year, I've worked with sort of different groups of children.
Right.
And we do devised theatre productions.
Okay.
I was originally planning to work with kids from the age of 8 to 11, but my 11-year-olds from sort of 5 years ago, 6 years ago, are still carrying on. So now it's become sort of 6 years now. Now I start with little ones, 6 to 8-year-olds, to about like 15, 16-year-olds.
Okay.
And I keep saying, this is it. I'm done with you guys for next year kind of thing. And it's an amazing experience.
And it's amazing because you've got your work at the university, you've got, kids at play, and you've somehow managed to find the time to write 4 books as well. I mean, really, how do you do it?
You know what? I never think about it.
Yeah, you just...
I think people, when they ask me this question, I think the answer is, if I actually sat down and thought about it, I probably would never do it.
Yeah, because it would just overwhelm.
Yeah, it would be too much. Yeah. I think writing has, over the years, almost become an escape from husband, kids, domestic lives, work, stress, etc. And I guess I've always loved telling stories, so it's been a way of just putting my ideas down. And I mean, I've really had no confidence in my own writing, but I guess, one of my stories got placed in the highly commended category in the Commonwealth Short Story competition.
Which is incredible.
And then, other work got accepted to be published, and I suppose that has kind of given me confidence to sort of carry on, and I guess that's how I sort of do it. And it's that early morning time when there's nobody around, when I sit at my computer,
On that note, we're going to take a little break. So for all of you watching at home, don't go anywhere, because we're going to have a lot more stories from Neluka after this break. So we'll see you soon. Welcome back to ETV Power Women. If you missed the first part of the show, I've been having a wonderful chat with Professor Neluka Silva. Neluka, tell me a little bit about your family life. First of all, how you met Simon, and where you guys met, and tell us a little bit about him.
Well, we met in Sri Lanka.
Okay.
Although he's British, he was working as a peace volunteer.
Right, okay.
And, it was kind of, ironic, because I'd sort of, having lived abroad all my life, I was the one in sort of my whole circle of friends who kept saying, I will never ever marry a foreigner. Right, and I was very determined about that. So, and in fact, somebody asked me when I introduced them to Simon whether I was colorblind. And I really wanted to live in Sri Lanka, having lived overseas practically all my life. I felt, that I really needed to be rooted here. And when I met him, that was one of the things that I was very concerned about. Yeah. But he sort of assured me that he would, and I guess he was living in Sri Lanka and he knew the place. He said, yes, I'd love to live in Sri Lanka. And we met 18 and a half years ago. Wow. We've been married for 17 years. And I must say that he's been incredibly supportive. I think a lot of what I've done in my life or been able to do has been because Simon has been really not just sort of encouraging me, but actually saying no, pushing me and saying, you have to do this, you have to do this.
So tell me a little bit about the book that you've done together. I mean, I know they're separate stories, but published together. Tell us a bit about that.
Well, The Rolled Back Beach was a real kind of an accident in some ways because, as I said before, I've been kind of very nervous about my writing, and it was almost like a very secretive thing.
Okay.
So after the tsunami, I sort of started kind of writing stories, and I really didn't know that Simon had been doing the same, and we never really talked about it because, when you're, we have, we talk about kids and where they have to go to be dropped and dinner and who's going to pick them up and, all the logistics. And we don't really sit and talk about literature or all these things. And then one day, sort of, I think it was about 2000, about 3 years after the tsunami, or 2 years, he just sort of casually mentioned that he had a short story. And I said, well, I've written a few stories. And that's when, we didn't actually even read the stories together, or, write it, or even edit each other's work, which is probably why we haven't, we're still married, and we ended up not killing each other. So in a way, the book is co-authored, but it's very separate. And our styles are very, very distinct.
So Neluka, tell me a little bit about your children.
I have 2 daughters, Nimaya, who's 12, and Saravi, who's 7, going
Beautiful,
on 8.
both really unusual names.
Very,
beautiful
and
names.
I always tell them that they should be lucky that they have such beautiful names. They don't appreciate it that much, but they're great. They're really hard work, because there's a lot of juggling, and I like to sort of help them with homework and take them to extracurricular activities and sort of do all of those things. And Simon travels a lot.
Right.
So, that means that quite a lot of that responsibility is on my shoulders, and it sometimes can be really kind of stressful, juggling work and everything else. But, they're great, because in a way, funnily enough, my mom used to always say that she dreaded the day I had kids, because I was such a disorganized person, very chaotic. She would be like despairing, thinking how I'd be as a mother. But funnily enough, since I've had the 2 of them, I've been incredibly sort of, I think in my most productive and organized part of my life has sort of clicked in. And I've become, much to their dismay, too organized almost, because everything now, I plan everything in advance. But and in a way, they've sort of given me a lot of inspiration in so many different ways. Because whether it's doing kids at play or writing my stories or I don't know, and my first priority is being a mother, and I'll give up everything else for that if it came to that.
So having talked about your children at home, your family at home, tell us about the other children, your other kids that you work with. How would they describe you if I were to ask them?
Oh, no idea. I guess my university students will say that I'm very strict. My kids at play, kids think I'm quite mad. Because I do all sorts of crazy things with them. But their parents tell me that they really like me. I think being at the university, it's for me, I worked very hard when I was a student. And in a way, the best lecturers I had were those who made me work hard.
The ones who pushed you.
I think in a way I sort of feel that, unless... I try to sort of tell them that this is what I want from them, and because I work really hard to get there and to be there every day, I think I expect similar standards from them.
On that note, we're going to take another little break. But for all of you watching at home, when we come back, we've got the confession cam, which is my favorite part of the show, so don't miss that. We'll be back in a moment. Hi, and welcome back to ETV Power Women. We've come to that part of the show where we've sort of spoken to some of your friends, some of your family, and we've asked them to just tell us a bit more about what they think of you. I know everyone gets really nervous, just before this comes on, but it's generally very heartwarming and very nice. So I hope you'll be pleasantly surprised. So let's take a quick look at what they've had to say.
Neluka is this vibrant personality. It's always she does something new every time I see her. She's always like calling me and saying, oh, I wrote this new book, I'm taking part in this new play, or it's always something new. She's loads of fun, and she's full of stories, and she can always keep a crowd going. And also she's there when you need her. There's a group of 7 of us who are like a girl gang. You can call us like old girls gang. And we're from different fields of life. There are business women, there are bankers, there is me, I'm a jewelry designer. There's Neluka, who is a English professor. Then there's another one who owns a sari shop, so it's like different fields. And another thing that brings us all together is our kids are all friends, so which makes our bond much more stronger. And every time we meet, it's always loads of fun and new stories, and Neluka is always in the front of it, leading with all these great tales. I think she's a great storyteller.
What I know about Neluka is that she's very passionate about everything in her life. Her children are at the center of her universe. You will see that. Whatever she does every day is to make them happy. So we have children of similar ages, and they're also friends. And so we do a lot together with our kids. So that's number one. Then it comes to Simon, her husband. She actually thinks that Simon looks like Brad Pitt. Okay, I mean Simon is cute, but not Brad Pitt. Okay, so but she actually believes it, and it appears that she and Simon have this kind of passion for each other, perhaps which they had when they first met. So they still do have that. She's also very passionate about her job, her work, and about her students. I actually, coming from the business world, I always tell her, Neluka, why are you working for this salary? I mean, I said, you can get a job for 10 times this salary you're getting, but she says, no, Aruni, I just love my work. I never want to change what I do, so I really don't care what I earn. She is also very patriotic. She loves Sri Lanka. I remember when she was in Oxford, this wonderful place of Oxford, but she was missing Sri Lanka. She just couldn't believe it. She was saying, I just miss the chaos and the fun and everything about Sri Lanka. So, she would not want to live anywhere else.
Well, lovely stuff. I'm so glad to see you enjoyed it. So.
Yeah, well, I'm so overwhelmed.
Yeah.
I never expected, in a way, them to say that about me, and it's great.
Yeah,
It's
quite lovely. So, well, I'm glad you enjoyed it, because I think everybody at home would have as well. Again, we've got to go into a short break, but when we come back, I'm going to ask you some questions, the dreaded 10. So, for all of you at home, you've got that to look forward to after the short break. So, we'll see you soon. Hi, and welcome back to ETV Power Women. We've come to the final sort of part of the show where I ask Neluka 10 dreaded questions and put her on the spot. Are you ready? As ready as you'll ever be?
Yes,
sort of.
kind of.
Okay, well. Question number 1. What is the greatest novel, in your opinion, written by a Sri Lankan in the English language?
Funny Boy.
Funny Boy, I love that book. How did you know Simon was the one?
I don't think I did, but there was something about him that it wasn't love at first sight.
Right, okay.
He says it was, because 3 hours after he met me, he went and wrote on his computer saying, this is the woman I'm going to marry.
Wow.
Took me a lot longer, but I guess because he was very different, and I just kind of had this feeling.
Do you think comic books or graphic novels, as they're sometimes called, do you think that they're also literature? Would you include them in?
I would, yes, because I don't believe in sort of highbrow literature.
Yeah.
I think anything has the potential to move people.
What makes you go back to work every day? What sort of drives you together?
My students?
Yeah.
For one thing, the place.
Okay.
University of Colombo is my second home.
Yeah.
Also, I do believe in God very strongly, and I feel that that's where I'm meant to be.
Do you believe in the British or the American method of spelling?
I've been brought up with the British, and I am most comfortable with it and used to it. So that's what I use in my work on a day-to-day basis. If I see work written in American spelling, I don't sort of jettison it.
What is the one thing that you absolutely hate?
backbiting
Okay.
by friends, people that you think is
yeah.
your good friend,
Yeah.
and then you find that they've been saying
Just
horrible
nasty.
things about
Yeah,
you. That's
okay.
the worst form of
Yeah.
betrayal, I think.
Yeah, I think
for
so.
me.
How would you react to a scathing review of an acting performance?
Well, it's somebody's opinion,
Yeah.
and I think, you know, if it is constructive, I've had very scathing reviews, and
Okay.
I think you learn from it.
How would you react if you heard a rumor that your husband was being unfaithful?
I have no idea. I hope that will never happen.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
But I think once
Yeah.
you're in it, I mean, until you're in that,
You
you
don't know.
really don't know.
Yeah.
And
Good answer. Good answer. What's the one thing in your life that you've done that you'd like to undo? Is there anything?
gosh, that's really put me on the spot. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know actually.
Okay.
I can't think of anything.
Who's your biggest hero?
My mother.
Mum.
Yes.
Okay.
She's a
Beautiful
wonderful,
answer.
wonderful person. Great source of strength and inspiration.
Yeah. Wonderful. Well, that's it. That was the dreaded 10, which you've done very well. And
Thank you very much for the privilege and the honor
it's
of
been
inviting me
great.
here. Thank you very much to everyone at ETV
No, it's been
for making
fun.
this such a wonderful experience.
Good. I'm glad you've enjoyed it. But unfortunately, we've come to the end. So I've got to have to say goodbye to you and to everyone watching at home. But before I go, let me just remind you of our web address. It's www.etv.lk. So log on and find out a lot more about Power Women, some behind-the-scenes activity as well. So make sure you check that out. And we will see you again with another guest next week. So until then, goodbye.